12 days. 1 WTA title. Wins over 3 Grand Slam champions and an Olympic gold medalist. And then, in a single evening on center court, it ended in 73 minutes. This is the story of Eala's run to the 4th round of the 2026 National Bank Open in Toronto, and how a 21-year-old from the Philippines turned one tournament into the loudest story in tennis that summer. Eala was born in Quezon City, Philippines. At 13 years old, the Rafael Nadal Academy in Manacor, Spain, reached out to her family and offered her a scholarship. She has trained there ever since. The academies played a pretty big role in my life, she has said. That foundation produced results early: the 2022 US Open Girls Singles title, the first junior Grand Slam singles crown ever won by a Filipino player, plus junior doubles majors at the 2020 Australian Open and the 2021 French Open. The talent was never in question. What came next was proof. By the summer of 2026, Eala had climbed to a career-high ranking of world number 20. That climb did not happen gradually. It happened in 2 explosive weeks that forced the entire tour to pay attention. Part of it is style. Eala plays with a left-handed grip that is rare on tour, paired with a return game that has already been singled out as one of the best in the women's game. On the faster hard courts of North America, that combination turns rallies into a track meet, and it is exactly the surface where she has produced her biggest results. Her serve, by contrast, is still considered a work in progress, still trending upward. Which makes everything that follows even more remarkable. She has been beating some of the best players alive while still building out part of her own game. Part of it is bigger than tennis. For years, the sport has looked for a breakthrough star capable of pulling entirely new audiences into the game. Eala's rise has done exactly that across the Philippines and Southeast Asia, a region with talented players before her, but never one whose matches turned into destination events for thousands of traveling fans. Every stop on tour this season has become, in some sense, a home game for her, regardless of which country she is actually playing in. The first came at the Miami Open, a WTA 1000 level event. Eala entered on a wild card, ranked number 140, a ranking that should have kept her nowhere near the second week. Instead, she became the first Filipina in history to beat a Grand Slam champion, taking down 2017 French Open champion Jelena Ostapenko. She did not stop. The next round, she beat 2025 Australian Open champion Madison Keys, 6-4, 6-2. After a walkover into the quarterfinals, she faced 4-time French Open champion Iga Swiatek, and beat her too. The result carried extra weight. Swiatek had attended Eala's graduation ceremony at the Nadal Academy back in 2023. 3 years later, the student was beating the teacher's peer on tour. The second explosion came days before Toronto, at the Washington Open. Eala won her first WTA singles title, cutting through a brutal draw that included 2024 Olympic gold medalist Qin Wenjing, defending champion Leylah Fernandez, and number 3 seed Naomi Osaka, before beating the tournament's top seed in the final. For opponents, for different kinds of danger, and Eala solved every single one of them on the way to lifting her first WTA trophy. First Filipina to win a WTA singles title. New career high ranking. And she arrived in Toronto still riding the momentum, with barely a week to catch her breath before stepping into another draw full of ranked, dangerous names. 3 Grand Slam champions. 1 Olympic gold medalist. 1 maiden title. All in the same season, all in the weeks leading into the National Bank Open. Stop and think about what that means. A player who started the year ranked outside the top 100 was, by midsummer, beating the same names casual tennis fans see on Grand Slam trophies. No player on tour walked into Toronto with a hotter run than Eala did. Toronto was ready for her. Filipino fans had turned out in force wherever she played that summer, and Sobe Stadium was no different. By some accounts, it sounded less like a Canadian tennis venue and more like Manila. Philippine flags filled the stands. Every winner she struck was met with a roar. Chants of Laban Alex rolled through the arena match after match, thousands of voices turning a hardcourt venue in Toronto into a home crowd 9,000 miles from the Philippines. Organizers had been anticipating this moment for months, expecting the same wave of support that had already carried her through Washington. Seeded number 25, Eala received a first-round bye, and ticket demand was strong enough that organizers placed her second-round match against American Alycia Parks on center court, a rematch of an Australian Open meeting Eala had lost 0-6, 6-3, 6-2 back in January. It was the kind of match that could have ended the run before it started. Parks' serve had already given Eala trouble once this year. This time, on the biggest court in the building, in front of the loudest crowd of her career, Eala won in 3 sets. Then came the match that nearly broke her. The third round brought Katie McNally, an American who had just upset reigning Wimbledon champion Linda Noskova, clawing back from a 5-1 deficit to do it. McNally was not a name to take lightly, She had just proven, in her previous match, that she could take down a Grand Slam champion by grinding through discomfort of her own. Against Eala, the two of them produced exactly that kind of fight, a battle that stretched to 2 hours and 39 minutes. 6-3, 5-7, 6-4. Eala took the first set, lost the second in a tight 5-7 swing, and had to dig into a third set with a body already worn down from the pace of the tournament. Midway through the second set, Eala called a medical timeout. A blister on her right foot needed treatment, right there on court mid-match, with the tournament and the crowd watching. She came back out and closed it in 3 sets anyway. Afterward, Eala said McNally sought her out with respect, not resentment. "Thanks for letting me be a part of this," McNally told her. A line Eala pointed to as proof of the respect built between two players who had just put each other through the ringer for nearly 3 hours. It was a win that cost her something. And 3 days later, the bill came due. Waiting in the 4th round was Belinda Bencic, 12th seed, 2024 Olympic gold medalist, a player built on tactical patience and big match nerve, the kind forged over years at the top level of the sport. It was framed heading in as a clash of generations and a clash of styles. Eala's raw baseline power against Bencic's courtcraft, positioning, and experience reading an opponent. It was also the first meeting between the two players. No history, no data on how Eala's game held up against exactly this kind of veteran patience. By that point, Eala had played 8 matches in under 2 weeks across Washington and Toronto, winning 7. 2 title runs. 2 draws full of ranked, dangerous opponents. One body absorbing all of it. The tank was running low, and it showed almost immediately. Bencic won 6-4, 6-0 in just 73 minutes, a brutal one-sided scoreline after 2 weeks of marathon battles that had gone the distance almost every time out. The run that had carried her past 3 Grand Slam champions and an Olympic medalist ended not with a fight, but a rout. She did not hide from it. "Belinda put me in some tough situations. I think she played really well," Eala said afterward, admitting she never found a way out of the pattern Bencic trapped her in. But she refused to let one lopsided scoreline define the fortnight. "I'm looking back at these past 2 weeks as a really big positive," she said, pointing not just to the title and the wins, but to everything she had physically fought through to get there. She spoke, too, about the Filipino crowd that had followed her across the tournament, calling their passion something that turned tennis into a meeting point for culture and community. Then came the moment that showed exactly who she is off the court. Asked what came next, Eala did not talk tactics or training blocks. She said she would take a day or 2 off, then head to Cincinnati, and almost as an afterthought, mentioned she needed a haircut, since she hadn't had one in a while. No mention of the scoreline. No mention of what went wrong tactically against Bencic. Just a young athlete, exhausted after the biggest 2 weeks of her career, thinking about the small, ordinary things that had gone untouched while she was busy beating Grand Slam champions and Olympic medalists. 2 weeks that included a WTA title, wins over major champions, an in-match medical timeout, and a brutal straight-sets exit in front of a crowd that traveled for her, and the most human thing she said all day was about getting a haircut. That is the Cincinnati Open next. Then the US Open, the same tournament where her first major title, that junior crown back in 2022, was won. There is a symmetry to that. The tournament where her rise on the world stage began is the same one waiting for her at the end of this stretch, except now she arrives as a WTA title holder and a career-high world number 20, not a junior with promise. Recovery matters here as much as the tennis does. A short window before Cincinnati is all she gets to let a body that just absorbed 8 matches in under 2 weeks, including an in-match medical timeout for a foot blister, reset before the cycle starts again. How she manages that recovery may end up shaping this stretch of her season more than any single result from Toronto did. Every match from here adds to a ranking that is already a career high, and every step forward puts her deeper into territory she has never occupied before. The name she has already beaten this season: multiple Grand Slam champions, a reigning Olympic gold medalist, a defending champion, a top 3 seed, read like a resume built for a player twice her experience. Whoever she draws in Cincinnati or New York will know exactly who they are facing. Zoom all the way out, and the picture is unmistakable. A first WTA title, won in Washington against a stacked field. A career-high ranking. Wins over Ostapenko, Keys and Swiatek, 3 Grand Slam champions, plus a win over Olympic gold medalist Qin Wenjong, all inside one season, all before she had even played her first match in Toronto. A 3-set survival act against Katie McNally, played through a foot injury treated live, on court mid-match. And a lopsided loss to a fellow Olympic champion that, in Eala's own words, still could not undo how she felt about the 2 weeks that came before it. One bad night on center court does not erase a season built on knocking off the best players in the world, over and over, on the biggest stages available to her. It does not erase a number 140 ranked wild card beating 3 Grand Slam champions in Miami, or a maiden title 1 week later against a field that included an Olympic gold medalist, a defending champion, and a top 3 seed. Eala said it herself in real time, walking off a court she had just lost on. This was a positive. Cincinnati and New York are next, and if this season has proven anything, it is that Eala does not stay down long. If you think she bounces back stronger in New York, drop your prediction in the comments below, and subscribe for continued coverage as her season continues.